Parenting stories. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for enforcing that my son uses his college fund to pay back his child support? My wife and I have 2 kids. Our oldest is Josh. He just started his second year in college. Full disclosure, I'm not Josh's biological dad, but I've been married to his mom since he was 8. He's my son in all but blood. Josh has a full-ride scholarship at his college. His mom and I are very proud, and he has ambitions for law school after graduation. A few months ago, we were contacted by Tina, a girl who claimed to have had a baby boy with Josh. The baby is a little under 18 months old. Tina said Josh had ghosted her and blocked her on all platforms. She'd been trying to get back in touch with him, but when that didn't work, began to look for his parents to contact. She finally found us and begged us to get Josh to talk to her. We were skeptical at first. He said he knew the girl but denied the baby. We insisted on a paternity test, 2 of them, and they were positive. Tina has gone through the courts and now is pushing for back child support for the baby. Josh is panicking. He doesn't have much income or savings other than a college fund his mom and I have been paying into. He wanted to use that money for his first apartment and for law school. My wife wants to help him pay. The payments aren't much now, and we could afford to, but I'm against it. We, wife and I, agreed that our kids would be responsible for themselves once they moved out. We'd help them if they needed it, but only if it was reasonable. To me, paying his child support for a baby he tried to abandon is unreasonable. He has the money in his fund, he just doesn't want to use it. Josh is afraid of not being able to afford law school without big loans in the future. And to that I say tough. Should have thought of that before bringing a child into the world. My wife thinks I'm unfairly punishing him, and paying the support now would be investing in both the baby and Josh's future. I have no interest in taking care of an infant again this late in life. I'm fine with being grandpa, but not stand-in dad while Josh gets off scot-free. He needs to step up and take care of his kid. Edited to add, I suddenly have a flood of responses to read. Can't find the info post I meant to reply to, so I will address some questions here. Tina, according to her, tried to get in contact with Josh while she was pregnant. He denied the baby was his and ignored her. They weren't dating. She attends community college, not his university. She has evidence of multiple attempts to contact him both before and after the baby was born. I don't know about protection being used. I'd hope they were careful and that this was just an accident, but I'm not going to ask about all the details of my son's private life. The deed is done, the baby exists. He needs to step up and be a dad. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Thank you for standing up for the girl and the baby. Josh needs to understand that actions have consequences. Agreed. Not the a-hole. You're teaching your son a valuable lesson. Especially if he wants to be a lawyer, he should understand the importance of consequences. Not the a-hole. He has the money in his fund. He just doesn't want to use it. Should have thought of that before bringing a child into the world. I agree. Law school would be great, but he doesn't have that luxury. If he's still able to get a college degree and also has money to support a child, he's doing well enough. And how many mothers have had to give up dreams of law school to look after a baby? Also, do we really want the kind of immoral lawyers who would abandon their own child? Who am I kidding? Not the a-hole, and I agree with you in every point. Josh not only created this mess, but he made it worse by actively avoiding Tina and forcing her to get you/your wife/the course involved. If you and your wife pay his child support for him just so his future stays pristine, then you are enabling his recklessness. I mean, what about Tina's future and the plans she had that have now been put aside because she became a mom? She doesn't get to continue her life as though nothing has changed, and neither should Josh. If your wife wants to help in some way, she can go shopping for her grandchild, maybe buy some clothes or toys or other things that would help Tina out. But the actual child support is Josh's responsibility to figure out. And if that means he takes the money out of his college fund and/or gets a job to meet his obligations, then so be it. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for trying to force my stepson to move out of his bedroom so my daughter can move in? I have a daughter and a stepson who I will call Carly and Kyle. Carly 15 and Kyle 18. They have never been particularly close. Kyle tends to avoid me and Carly like the plague. He hasn't bothered ever trying to build a relationship with us. I have been with Kyle's dad since the kids were 10 and 13. Due to some personal troubles, which I'll not go into detail about, Kyle stays with his dad, though his mother will visit fairly regularly, and they're in constant contact. She, of course, believes me to be the a-hole in this situation. Kyle has stayed in the attic since I knew him. His parents had the attic converted into a proper bedroom for him when he was around 9 or 10. It is an absolutely stunning room. Plenty of space, nice furniture, and it is currently inhabited by several dressmaking dummies as he is studying fashion at university. Lately, Carly has asked me if she can stay with me full-time. She and her dad are just not getting on, and she'd prefer living with me. Her dad is absolutely fine with this, as he was never really good with her in the first place. This means that the majority of Carly's things will be at our place. She has a lot more things than Kyle, and would most likely need more space. That's why I thought it'd be a better idea to have Kyle move into Carly's slightly smaller bedroom downstairs, and Carly can move into the attic bedroom. I even offered to pay for whatever Kyle wants for his new bedroom, regarding wallpaper, paint, posters, etc., as I know it is a bit of a change for him. Kyle is not a fan of the idea and has been complaining about how he needs the space to work on his university projects. I told him that he is more than welcome to use the dining room, as we rarely ever use it, and we can clean out one of the storage cupboards to store the dummies in. Kyle's partner is also not a fan of this, though I am almost 100% sure that this is just because in the attic bedroom, they can do what teenagers do without interruption. I think that Kyle is being a bit overdramatic about this, as I'm not kicking him out into the street, just into a smaller bedroom, which I have offered to decorate for him. His father is not completely sold on the idea, but is slowly coming around. He also thinks that Kyle is being a bit dramatic regarding the room situation. Kyle's mother and girlfriend, and of course Kyle himself, all think that I'm being an a-hole. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. You can't kick him out because you want your daughter to have his room. You give her what's available. Such a terrible thing you're trying to do. He's also paying rent. Opie replied to my comment below saying so. WTF? If he's paying rent, she's twice the a-hole I thought she was before. You're the a-hole. That has been his room for years. Now you want to favor your own child. This is his space. He needs it for his studies. All of his points are valid. You're playing favorites and wanting to give your daughter the bigger room. Your reasoning makes zero sense. Oh, she has more things, but then go, well, he can store his stuff downstairs. Yeah, so can she. The big, giant, gorgeous room with a lovely furniture. Sounds like Mommy Dearest wants her daughter to have a big princess room Mommy thinks she deserves, and the teenage boy and his partner need to stop being gross teenagers and take the smaller room. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not letting my parents stay with my kids for long periods of time because of my brother? I, 27 female, have a sister, 26 female, and a brother, 15 male, who is autistic. When he was 2, he was diagnosed with autism. From that moment on, he was my parents' absolute priority. Well, I get it now, 14-years-old me did not. It was like I woke up one day and my parents became very different people. Lots of money were spent on various types of therapy, lots of time were dedicated solely to him. Lots of special occasions for me and my sister became second thoughts to my parents. They were not terrible parents, but a lot of things they did before, like having meals with us every night, picking us from school became our nanny's responsibilities, as my parents were focused on my brother. I resented my brother first, and with time, my parents. The one positive thing was me and my sister becoming best friends. I left for college when I was 18, and my sister left for the same college the year after. We lived together the whole time. Neither of us really missed home, because who misses feeling like a second thought? We only went home for the holidays. In the summers, we did car trips and had a blast. When I was 21, I met my now husband. The three of us, me, sis, and him, became super close. After that, he joined our summer trips. We got married 2 years later and had twins the following year. The kids are now 3. We stopped the trips after the twins were born, but after their first birthday, we decided to go on 3 weeks vacations annually. When they grow up, we will make sure to adjust the trip so they can join us. Right after my sister finished college, I got a job near our hometown. My sister had no reason to stay where we were, so she moved back with us. My husband's parents live close, just 2 hours away, and my parents and my brother still live in our old house, 15 minutes away. For the first 2 trips after the twins were born, we left them with my mother-in-law and father-in-law. They are amazing grandparents. Well, this year, it clicked to my parents that my girls were obviously not going with us on the trips. They asked who had watched the twins the first 2 times, and I explained that my mother-in-law and father-in-law had. They asked to keep them this year and I said no, but thanks for the offer. We appreciate it. They wanted to know why my mother-in-law and father-in-law could have them for long periods of time, but they couldn't. I was honest, said that I do trust them to babysit for short periods, as I know they would never neglect the girls in those few hours. But I don't want them to have them for 3 weeks. They need a lot of attention, and so does my brother. And while I don't think they would do anything on purpose, I'm afraid they will end up too focused on my brother and temporarily forget the twins need their attention as well. They accused me of hating my brother. I don't. And said that I was a horrible sister. They said I was punishing them for caring for my brother and preventing them from bonding with my girls. My sister and husband agree with me, though, but I fear they are just too close to the situation to judge. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your parents did what they thought was best for their children. You get to do what you think is best for your children. I really appreciate how perfectly you worded this. It would take me 8 paragraphs to make the same point you just so concisely made. Not the a-hole. You have valid and sensible reasons. Your parents are emotional, but to not have noticed for 2 years your girls were not with you and were obviously somewhere, to me just shows what you've said. They are preoccupied with your brother and just unaware. Not a bad thing, but a truth. A truth that you've accepted, and you live your life with that knowledge. They can visit your girls over the trip time, but I agree it's a huge thing to watch twin toddlers for longer than a day. Well, God bless your in-laws, and have a safe and awesome trip. Agree, not the a-hole. Also, your in-laws are saints. Looking after the twins for 3 weeks. Info, have you ever had a real conversation with them about your feelings? Are you scared for the well-being of your kids? Or just that they won't receive the level of attention you think one needs for a full childhood? I ask because 3 weeks ain't going to break your kids. Unless it's big ol' abusive. Not the a-hole after reply. We never had a full emotional conversation about how my sister and I felt like second thoughts. No. But they are aware we felt forgotten. I don't think they would abuse the girls. But 2 toddlers are a full-time job. They need a lot of attention. Between naps, 5 meals, bathing, playing, changing diapers, they need someone to always be paying attention. My fear is that they will forget a meal, or not realize a diaper needs changing or something like that, because my brother needed their attention. They wouldn't die, of course, but it makes me anxious. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not apologizing to my dad and stepmom for being a nightmare of a child growing up? My dad married my stepmom 3 months after my parents' divorce, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out how their relationship started. I was 13 then. He fought for 50-50 split custody and won it. I took out all my anger and resentment on their household. I was an actual monster of a child while I was with my dad, but my mom had 0 issues with me. I was also very well behaved in school. But over the years, I've wrecked a lot of stuff around their house and was generally extremely rude to them. I made both my dad and stepmom cry more than a few times. When I was 16, I stopped going over to their house. I mellowed out with them, but I distanced myself from them. I'm now 28 and recently married. I recently met my dad and stepmom at my grandparents' house for an outdoor barbecue. My stepmom overheard me telling my aunt that I love being newlyweds in a new home. She got extremely upset and said I ruined that experience for her. And she said the least I could do was apologize. I basically scoffed and walked away without even acknowledging her. I think my dad and her handled the situation poorly in general and should have been more proactive about dealing with my issues when I was a literal child. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She didn't get the standard newlywed experience because she had an affair with a married man. Of course, you as his child were not going to be open to spending time with a woman who helped to hurt your mother. Exactly this. Opie was also 13 years old, still a child, when acting this way, so blaming him for what he did as a child, even though it was within his right, when you look at how his parents separated, and expecting an apology seems immature and unnecessary. It's kind of incredible how selfish and totally without empathy someone would have to be to say, "Please apologize to me for acting like a child," when you were a child, after I helped to destroy your family as you knew it. Like, if everyone is asking for apologies, I'm pretty sure dad and stepmom owes one to Opie's mom first. I'm surprised by the a-hole votes. If a teen posted saying his dad had cheated and married his mistress directly after the divorce finalized, and expected him to live with the affair partner and behave like nothing was wrong, people would be up in arms about the selfish dad. I'd say not the a-hole for not apologizing. I think you went too far with your behavior since you say you broke things, and that sounds on the violent side. But it doesn't sound like you've actually reconciled with them, just that you were finally able to get the distance you wanted. I'm not going to expect someone to apologize under those circumstances. Not the a-hole. You could hardly be expected to celebrate a marriage built on the wreckage of your parents' marriage. You were 13, your mother was devastated, and your father chose to antagonize you by expecting you to live with this woman half of the time. What exactly did they think would happen? Bed, maid, lie. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for wanting my son named after my dad instead of my stepdad? My dad passed away when I was 9. He was the best dad in the world, and I still miss him. He was just the life of the party, made everyone laugh, was caring and kind. He died in an accident. My dad didn't have any family since he was a foster kid, but the day of his funeral, the place was packed with people who loved him. Literally almost no space for everyone inside. That's how many people his presence affected. My mom and I struggled until she met Marcus, not his real name, when I was 11. He helped us out a lot, and he's a great guy. It was love at first sight for them, and they got married fast. It didn't bother me though, because he is really great to me and nice. My wife, 24 female, and I, 24 male, are pregnant. We just found out it's gonna be a baby boy. My wife also lost her dad when she was 17 to cancer, so she wants to name our son after him. So we decided we want our son named after his 2 grandpas. Her dad's would be our son's first name, then my dad's as his middle name. We told everyone on Zoom. My mom called me a few days after we told them. She said Marcus has been really down, and is hurt that I didn't consider naming my son after him. I talked to Marcus about this too. He admits it stung him, because he thought we had a deeper relationship, and after everything is done for my family, he figured I'd see him as someone I want to name my son after. And I told him he is important to me. I acknowledge everything he did for my family, and I love him no matter what. But my dad was also someone very important to me, and I want to honor him. That seemed to make him upset, so we ended the call. Neither of them talked to me for days, until my mom reached out again. She really thinks I should reconsider this because it would mean a lot to Marcus, and make him feel more included, I guess. I told her my wife and I pretty much decided on this. My mom got a little pissy about it. She said it's fine then if I won't compromise, and Marcus sees now where he stands in my life. It was a really weird call, and now it's radio silence from them. So yeah, I don't know. I've already told him it's important to me. He knows I love him because I've said so many times. Just don't see why he'd get upset over what we want to name our son. I doubt if we weren't naming him after our dads there would be a problem. So I'm lost. Am I being an a-hole for deciding I want my son named after my dad instead of him? Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. You're naming your child after the fathers you both lost to honor them. Marcus is still here and will have a chance to be a part of the child's life, whereas your father can't. So using his name is a sweet way of making sure he too is part of your child's life as well. This is a great point. I would definitely emphasize how excited I am for him to be your baby's granddad, while firmly sticking with the name you have chosen. Just because you love your dad and want to honor his memory doesn't mean you don't love your stepdad. Not an a-hole. Literally this. I would stress to Marcus that he will be the only grandpa the baby knows. You and your wife can't give that to your own dad, so want to honor them in a different way. It is not a dig at Marcus, just a way for the child to connect to 2 people he will never meet. Not an a-hole. I'm gonna be blunt. Marcus would be no one if your dad hadn't sadly passed. Marcus gets the chance to be a granddad and is screwing it up over the name of your child? By what you've said, he is a good guy and involved in your life. So I'm guessing you want him involved in your son's life. I agree with another commenter that you should spend some time with Marcus and discuss his place in your life, and that the name of your son doesn't change that. But being a part of your life means respecting your decisions and choices. I hope this comes to a happy resolution. I, for one, understand honoring a person through their name. I am named in part after my granddad, and I will do the same if I have children. I'm Jewish. So the whole idea of someone living lobbying to have a child named after them is inherently weird to me. Our culture, at least my version of it, I think maybe there might be a divide between Sephardic and Ashkenazi here, not entirely sure, embraces naming babies after those who have passed on, as a way to keep our departed loved one's spirit alive. In fact, it's considered bad form and bad luck to name a baby after someone who is still alive at the time of their birth. So I guess what I'm saying is, tell Marcus and Mom you're converting to Judaism. Problem solved. Anyway, not the a-hole. I find it a special kind of irony that Marcus can display such petty jealousness while simultaneously asking you to name your firstborn after him. As if his behavior is such a shining example of modesty, humility, and kind-hearted decency that you'd want your son to look to the man behind these actions as a role model? Please. Marcus gets to be alive and gets to meet your son. Your dad does not. Marcus needs to focus on that stark reality. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for ruining my parents' retirement by refusing to move in with them? I, female 20, live with my mother, 55, stepfather, 69, and my brother, 18, in a small town in an apartment building that we absolutely hate. Because my brother is about to leave for the army after he graduates high school, my parents are planning on moving about 2 hours away. Their plan is for me to assume half of the rent of the new apartment, and they would travel each month, coming back once a month for doctor's appointments, or during the winter season. However, currently I am the only one working in my family, as my stepfather gets disability and social security and my mother gets child support, and I work as a server/cook in a small dining restaurant. During this conversation, I was told I would have to pay for all of the moving expenses, and be expected to take care of 2 dogs while they are away. I have several reasons why I refuse to move in with them, mostly due to my mother and I having a stress relationship, as well as her being manipulative. She constantly shames me for my weight, which led me to having an eating disorder that I still struggle with, complains about me trying to be with friends once or twice a week, and disapproves of the hobbies I have. I play Dungeons and Dragons. I really feel like I should be obligated to do all this, especially since I'm not seen as an adult in their eyes. I'm worried that if I move in with them, I will be forced to take care of not only half the rent and utilities, but my mother's drinking and smoking habits, and my mental health will go down the drain. But with all the conversations I've had with my parents, with them promising me more independence, I'm worried I might be the a-hole. Am I? Not the a-hole. You are an adult, just as much as your 18-year-old brother is. If they want to move, that's on them. But you are not beholden to fund their lifestyle or play kennel to their pets. Get your own apartment and pay your moving expenses to extract yourself from this insanity. The crazy thing is, they still expect me to pay their moving expenses even if I don't move in with them. And that's maybe $1,000? More? Did you get the pony you wanted when you were 6? Probably not. Their moving expenses is the pony. No is a complete sentence. Get out of that house any way you can, and go low contact/no contact until they stop trying to financially mistreat you. Them promising you more independence? You're 20 years old. You have all the independence you choose to. Move out. They're using you for financial security and a dog sitter while they do as they please. If they don't want you on your own at 20, it's because they are toxic. Not the a-hole. It's crazy they expect you to pay for moving and rent. That is just using you completely. Start saying no and find somewhere else to move. Their plan really makes no sense in the long run anyways. Never ruin your future for someone else's lack of plans. It does, in a sense. My stepfather has several health issues, and child support doesn't last forever. I think my mom wants to use me after my stepfather passes. Third story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my parents I don't want to buy a house with you? Hey everyone! So, I'm Indian American, and if you're Indian American, you know that parents/relatives love purchasing expensive houses to flex on others even if they can barely afford it. Same goes with luxury cars, luxury huge houses, expensive clothes, gold. So I'm 26 male. I work as an HR administrator and I make around $60,000 after taxes, which isn't much but I don't mind. I'm able to have basic necessities, rent a nice apartment, and have plenty money for my hobbies like gaming, woodworking, books. My parents in general think I'm a failure and I'm dumb and I'm not successful. Long time ago, they cut contact with me. All the words and ways they treated me started affecting my mental health extremely bad, resulting in numerous mental disorders, which I take meds for but still isn't gone. So since we distanced, I've been feeling much better. Recently, they wanted me to come over to their house because they want to talk something important and it can't be said over the phone. So I came over, and they made lunch and treated me nicely, and then my mom and dad started talking nicely, and both of them apologized to me and said that they love me and all. They acted really friendly. I thought they actually changed for real, because it's been few years since we came this close. Then they got to the chase and said, "We want to buy a new house and it costs $500,000. Then they showed me the pictures of the house they want, and it's a beautiful house. It's 5 beds, 5,000 square feet, with a luxury gate and a huge landed pool. I say, nice house, Dad, but where will you get this type of money though? Loan or something? You're retired and you don't earn much as you used to, and Mom's a housewife, so 500,000 might be out of your range, right?" Then my dad said, "Oh, no, we aren't going for loans. You pay us 250,000 and I will put in 250,000, then I can buy the house." Immediately when my dad said, "You pay us 250,000, I got shocked and just got up quickly and told them, "Sorry, Dad, I can't afford 250,000 at this moment. I don't have that type of money and I don't want to buy a house with you." I quickly leave, and before I closed the door, my dad said, "I thought you loved us. Don't you want your old parents to live in a nice home? I brought you to America, and now you're leaving your parents." Mom starts fake crying, and my dad is telling me, "Wow, you're leaving your old parents? You should be ashamed of yourself. I knew you were a failure. Disgusting," insert cuss words. Mom continues to make boohoo noises and fake cries, and she says her share of cuss words in Hindi. I just closed the door and left. I have saved up a good amount of money, around 100,000 US dollars, from job, side hustles, etc. But I don't plan on purchasing a home just yet because I'm not certain where I will be living permanently yet. Plus, with job layoffs and all, I don't want to have all these responsibilities, especially in this time. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. As an Indian, I totally understand and therefore not the a-hole. Thank you. I know it's mainly us Indians who know the feeling. Lol, I agree with this. I'm not at that age yet, but my brother got an academic thing at his school. And my dad, his Indian, just brought me outside one day in the middle of my online class and said, "I need one of these from you." It was one of those signs that says an award winner lives here and stuff. I'm not comparing how my situation is to yours, by the way. I'm just saying I understand how they can be. I'm here if you ever need to talk. Oh, thank you so much. Not a-hole. I am Asian and understand filial piety very well. I had a different, more positive relationship with my parents, and I would still never do this. Also, my parents would never ask us. They know I need to live my own life. You are not your parents' retirement plan. Not the a-hole, and you know it. It sounds like you cutting contact was the right thing back then, and it sounds like the right thing now. The only reason they contacted you was for money. If your dad is able to put up $250,000, I'm certain that he can purchase a nice, but slightly smaller, property for him and your mother to spend their final years in. I might have misread this, but what exactly is the benefit to you in parting with $250,000? Are you expected to live in this house? Just expected to buy it for them and continue your way with an empty bank account and eat dust for the next 25 years? You are not the a-hole, and it's time to go no contact with your parents. For your own peace of mind and sanity, your mom and dad will be able to sort themselves out. They never really offered me to stay with them, so I don't really know exactly what they intended to do. I assume it's just for mom and dad to live in. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad's wife to suck it up? My dad married his wife when I was 10. My mom had died 2 years earlier. She never tried to be my mom or got jealous that I loved my mom. But she sure hated the fact my dad wasn't single by choice and was so jealous of the 3 photos we had displayed in the house. One in the living room, one in the dining room, and one in my room. And she asked for them to be taken out of sight and my dad complied. She also hated that he had contact with my mom's family still, mostly for me. So even though he did cut me off from them, he hasn't spoken to them since. And she gets so annoyed when they show up for stuff like my high school graduation or my birthdays. I moved in with my boyfriend back in February of last year, and then everything shut down, and I didn't see my dad for a while. He never saw my house or anything. It was only in January that we saw each other again, and then a few weeks ago he and his wife came over to see the house, and she was uncomfortable when she saw photos of my mom, but specifically the family photos of when my mom was alive. And she made a comment, followed by asking me if I would take them down while she was there. And when I said no, she said I must have put them up to rub it in her face. I told her to suck it up. And if I had to learn how to live in a house where photos of my mom were hidden, she could learn to live with being inside a house with photos of her while she was a guest and not even living there. She told me there was no reason to be rude, and I should try to see it from her perspective. She's been giving my dad a hard time ever since. Then she told me she was sorry for making the request, and the least I could do is apologize for being so rude over a simple mistake. I don't think I made her wrong at all. I think it's kinda messed up that my dad goes along with all this, and is okay with pretending my mom never existed around her. But I wonder if I was a little rude and should have left it at a no. It irked me when she brought up the photos and asked me to take them down like she didn't already have too much control over the photos in my bedroom when I lived there. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your father enables your stepmother. She told me there was no reason to be rude and I should try to see it from her perspective. What perspective would that be, as a guest in your home? You're displaying pictures of your family. She's been giving my dad a hard time ever since. Then told me she was sorry for making the request, and the least I could do is apologize for being so rude. Which, please. She's ridiculous. She walked into your home and asked you to remove pictures of your mother. Let's all pause and reflect upon how insane and entitled a person must be to act this way. I would never, ever apologize. If she wants to complain to your father, good for her. He's the one who should tell her she's being unreasonable and overbearing and completely inappropriate. He can enjoy her witching since he's the one who should shut her down, but doesn't. She said I must have put them up to rub it in her face. This is perhaps the textbook definition of narcissism. The only reason a person would have a picture of their dead mother in their house is to make me feel bad. Right? The house that she's entered one time in 13 months. I guess she thinks Opie's playing the long spite game. I now have this mental image of Opie prancing around evilly like the Grinch, placing the photos in the perfect place before sitting back in glee, and cackling at how brilliant their evil plan is before clapping and rolling all over the couch in joy. Not the a-hole. You don't have anything to apologize for. Regardless of how she feels about your mom, she is way out of line trying to dictate what photos you can display in your own home. Also, while I can somewhat understand her not wanting those photos displayed in the shared areas of her house, she was also wrong to ask that you not have them in your own room.